Hi folks. Well, how are you all doing? Thought I'd bring you somewhere a little bit different today because I've just been visiting a client of mine in this area, and there's a place here I've wanted to come to for quite a while, and I figured as I was close I'd come by and see it. I'll get my housekeeping out of the way. I'm smoking in my Imperial Billiard, a very interesting and entirely unintended mixture, which is Ennerdale Flake and Germain's Rich Dark Flake, and not an intentional mixture, because it just happened to be that yesterday I found a dry, dusty pouch of tobacco that smelt very neutral. There was no scent to it, so I thought, well, I'll moisturise it a bit by mixing in some Rich Dark Flake, which I've got plenty of now, and take it out with me today for my work and my rambles. And it was only when I put a flame to the pipe just now that I thought, hang on a minute, that's Ennerdale. So yeah, a mixture of Ennerdale and Rich Dark Flake, not one I would entirely recommend. However, that's not what I'm here to waffle about. So it's not a secret that I'm not the kind of person who you would ordinarily find going out of their way to drive to a church. But on this occasion, I've come somewhere very special. Now this place is a place called Knowlton, and it's on Cranbourne Chase. So it's in Dorset, Hampshire border. And the church to which I'm referring is this one here. Now this is a 12th century Norman church, and what's quite unique about this church is, as you can see, it's situated in this henge, in this ring. Now this is an ancient site that goes back 2,500 years or more, so obviously 2,500 BC that is. So it's pretty old. And this is fairly typical of what happened when Christians came here to ply their poisonous message of subservience to an imaginary friend. They came and they supplanted their own ideas in the consciousness of the indigenous people here at that time. So this site, which I'm standing on, had long been a ceremonial place in very much the same ilk as Stonehenge, for the native people of this country before the arrival of the Christians. And in typical Christian fashion, they come along and plonked their churches in sacred places, which isn't very respectful, is it really? And kind of bullied their way into dominance in the country. So this is a really interesting location because there are not very many of these in the British Isles. Sites where there's still a church in a place that is very ancient indeed. I do remember one such place many years ago. I used to live in Wales, and there was a place, interestingly enough, called Devil's Bridge, where they built a church on top of a stone circle, and they hadn't taken the stone circle down. They'd literally plonked the church right on top, so the walls of the church incorporated the standing stones of the monument. So yeah, this is also one of the most haunted places in England, and I have to say, I am not ordinarily given to such superstitions, but there is a definite feeling here which is quite eerie, quite strange, and yeah, not unsettling as such, but a little interesting, shall we say. Yeah, and I'm very much a skeptic of those sorts of things. So yeah, there's a feeling around this place which is quite interesting. But I'll show you something else that's interesting as well, because rather typically of so many sites of spiritual significance historically, we've got a couple of yew trees planted here, and if we walk into them, you'll see that people for a very long time apparently have been adorning these trees with scraps of rag, hagstones, we call those hagstones. So symbols. This is an ancient pagan practice, an ancient pagan tradition, and it's almost like the pagans that still exist today just saying fuck you to the church, to the Christians, saying we will still maintain this as being a site of importance to ourselves. And the interesting thing is that these two trees, it may actually be one tree, because yew trees actually they can spread underneath from roots and suckers, and actually become two different individuals, but genetically exactly the same. Although, yeah, I think these are possibly two maiden trees, I'm not sure. But the orientation is facing east. So this little gap here, this is facing east to the sunrise, which obviously will have had some significance in the past, and indeed, and I don't know the history of it, but just down here, basically on the same orientation, we've got one single lonely stone down there on the ground. Same orientation, as I say. So yeah, really interesting site, really interesting place, and I'm really chuffed to be here. It's brilliant. Something else that made me happy was the botanical diversity on these banks, on this earth bank here of the monument itself. I'm not sure if you can see that on this camera, but there's some really interesting, really cool plants in here. We've got orchids, and we've got hedge bedstraw and knapweed, and I found somewhere over there, I'm just seeing if there's any here, really interesting plant, which is a parasitic one called a broom rape, and it grows on the roots of certain other plants, and I believe in this case it will be growing on this knapweed. This stuff, it will be growing on the roots of that, but it doesn't produce chlorophyll. It's parasitic. So yeah, welcome to one of, if not the most haunted sites in England. And there's a part of me that kind of maybe thinks I might just come with my bedroll, crash out up here one day, just to see what it's all about, see what's going on. But that's it. I figured as I was in the area, I'd bring you somewhere interesting. Fortunately, despite the fact that this is a part of the country that relies heavily on tourism, it's actually very quiet here. There's a group of people over there on the other side of the church, but I haven't bumped into them yet, fortunately. But it's very quiet. So yeah, there we go. Knowlton. Look it up. It's the epitome of, I'll be diplomatic and say, the interface of Christianity with old pagan thinking, old pagan ways. But no, it's the bastardization of ancient pagan sites by the sodding Christians. Here's that plant I was talking about. Here's the broom rape. There's one here. See, it's got no colour to it. I think you can see that. I can't see what's in the camera, but I'm assuming that you can see this. Yeah, and I think it's growing on the roots of the knapweed. Brilliant. What a fantastic place. I'm so chuffed. I should be coming here again. Oh, that's it. You folks take care, and don't go mixing Ennerdale flake with rich dark flake. See you later.